Ladies, gentlemen. I'm going to turn this off for you. So, it's an exciting time in history. Tomorrow, the London Olympics will begin with soccer. Yeah, the United States women's soccer team is scheduled to play France at 12 o'clock tomorrow. But the opening ceremonies will be on the 27th, this Friday. I don't know why they did that, but here's some quick statistics for you. So, 204 countries will be competing, and there are over 10,000 athletes competing in these games. Canada has 277 for our Canadians, and for Americans you have 530. Yeah. 26 sports, 302 events. And in 2008, China had 51 gold medals. So if a country wants to win, I'm guessing they'll have to win over 50 this year. So far, 80 countries out of 240 participating countries have never won the gold medal, ever, in summer and winter combined. And for those of you who love math, it's 40% of all the countries combined. So a short history of the Olympics. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys know this, but I'll explain why I'm doing this later. So nobody really knows how and why it started. The myth is that Hercules started it, but here's some hard facts that we can work off of. The ancient Olympics were athletic and combat competitions between Greek city-states. These cities agreed to postpone any conflict they had with each other, so any war, any battles, everything, when the games started every 4 years. These cities agreed, the first ever champion of an Olympic event was Coroebus, a cook. Back then they only had few events in running, pentathlon, boxing, equestrian, wrestling, and one or two more. But for the Greeks, it was more than just a sporting event. Alongside the athletics involved, the Greeks made sacrifices and worshipped Zeus and Pelops, the king of Olympia. And plus the 4 years, called Olympiad, was a time measurement. It was a unit of time. As you can imagine, the winner of these games were heroes of their city-states. The athletes represented their city-states, and if they won, they were glorified and immortalized in poems, epic songs, and in their lifetime. So as you can see, the Olympics held a much greater meaning than just playing sports. The athletes represented their countries or city-state, and to some extent there were some elements of pride and honor in the country as a whole than just as an individual. Even today, when an athlete competes in the games, you're notified immediately by which country they represent. They always say, representing this country is this person. So the country always comes first. Even in individual events, it's sometimes more about the country than the individual. When someone wins, they play the national anthem. But let me turn the table around. Because as much as I'm a fan of the political aspect of the Olympics, I like the sports better. I think it's much easier to watch, and it's lighter too. So between the summer and the winter Olympics, I like the winter Olympics better. That's just my personal opinion. So the winter Olympics started in 1924. And it wasn't until 1994 that the Summer and Winter Olympics separated. So back then, they had the Summer and Winter Olympics together in the same year. So it happened every 4 years. But now it's interspersed, so there's two every year. I mean, two every 4 years. So why do I like it better? My favorite sport to watch is speed skating. So you're probably wondering why I like it and what I have to do with it. So I'll tell you. I used to do it. And trust me, racing is a hell of a lot worse than watching it. It's painful playing it. So today I'll show you the ins and outs of speed skating. You'll get all the strategies involved, and if you ever watch it with your friends, you can boast to them like all the knowledge you have. So let's start with the basics. What are the rules? Basically, none. Just get to the finish line first without hitting anyone, or starting early, cutting a corner, or blocking someone's way. That's it. 4 rules. And you just gotta do whatever you can to get to the finish line first. So all the races are counterclockwise. From that point on, we have to make the distinction between long track and short track speed skating. I don't know if you guys know a lot about it, but in the Olympics, long track is just called speed skating, while short track speed skating is just called short track speed skating. It's because long track was part of the Olympics for a much longer time. It was initiated with the Winter Olympics in 1924, but the short track, on the other hand, only joined the Olympics in 1992. When speed skating began, it was more of a traveling method than anything. In the Scandinavian countries, they had to travel across the rivers, so they put on sharpened bones on shoes to skate across rivers. Then when they found out that it was actually quite fun, it was done outside of just traveling. But short track didn't exist back then, as you can imagine. It was an outdoor sport more than anything. And the northern countries had a much bigger advantage when it became the sport in the Olympics. So the dominating countries were Finland, Sweden, Norway, and the likes. But it was North America, it was here, where they started using all steel blades to make people faster, and the skates were much lighter then. So if you look at the sports these days, America and Canada are very well represented in the sport, especially Quebec. So back then, all the races were mass starts. So I'll show you a little clip of what a mass start looks like. They don't do this in the Olympics anymore. Oh, where's my mouse? Oh, there. So mass start was, it doesn't happen in the Olympics anymore, but this is what it looks like. It's basically what it stands for. It's the mass start. Everyone starts all at once, and it's done outside. And okay, so I'm going to stop this.
Wait, if you're in the back row, wouldn't you have a big disadvantage?
Yep. But it's just like a marathon.
Rotation heats?
Can I take the questions later?
Oh, sorry.
Thanks. Okay. So basically it was like a marathon on ice. And this is what I'm going to admit. I don't know how short track speed skating be. So what's the difference between the two types, short and long? Speed skating is on a 400-meter oval. It's just like a track. One of those red things. Uses cloud skates, which means that the blade comes off the shoes. Just like by cross-country skiing, the back part of the blade comes off the skates. No helmet needed in long track. Only 2 people go at once in the Olympics now. And usually the distances are much longer in long track. And you have to switch lanes every lap. And I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, I'm losing my cursor. So, as you can see, they split the track into 2, and basically they have to go in their own lane for 1 lap, and then they switch lanes. So, short track speed skating, on the other hand, is on a 111-meter oval. I don't know why they didn't make it 100 meters, but so it's basically an ice hockey rink, and helmets are needed, and they have bubble gloves, so they have plastics on their left hand. The blades are fixed, so they stay on the shoes the entire time. And there are mats on the outside because in short track speed skating, there's a lot more falls than long track speed skating. And there are rubbers, these rubber circle things to mark the corners. And there's only 1 lane. They're not split into 2 like that. And about 4 to 8 people go in each race. And in the Olympics, it's always elimination. So if you lose, you're out. And then if you win, you keep going on. The commands are go to the start, ready, then gunshot. I'll show you that later. So what are the differences between the skates in speed skating, hockey, and figure skates? Other than the obvious, the blades are longer and the figure skates have a toe pick in the front. In speed skating, there's only 1 blade. In hockey and figure skating, you have 2. They're combined though. this is because you want as much weight off of you as possible, and you only need to turn one way. So if you look at speed skaters, they can't turn right. In addition to this, this is a secret amongst speed skaters, so don't let it out. But they hammer the blade so that it curves in the front to the left. So it makes them go faster to the left, but they can never turn right. So, and also, if you guys know anything about skates, they're all customized. They heat it up so that they match your feet. The primary muscles used in speed skating are the glutes, the quads, the hamstrings, and the calves. You can probably imagine why. Unlike some other sports, the arms and shoulders are not as much used, I'd say. Sure, you want strong arms, but since so much energy is used in the legs, I've been taught, when I was doing it, I've been taught to relax all muscles other than the 4 primary muscles. So that's why they put their hand on the back, so that they can relax the entire time. And when I was training for it, I could keep my muscles tight the entire time. I know that's really contradictory to other sports, but my coach would never let us take baths or even long showers at once. And it was because the rinks were really cold and we had to be used to that weather. And even when we were doing ground training, we stayed in the rinks, working on our explosive muscles. One thing that we used to do was rip our muscles. So we would do splits so that the muscles would literally rip off, and then more strands would grow in those places. And yeah, it was painful. And so the splits really helped develop our groin and glute muscles, so that so that we could win. So as I said, the explosive muscles are quite important in short track speed skating. If you watch the 500 meters, which sounds like 500 is a lot, but in speed skating it's a sprint. And the start really matters. Once you get up to the front, you're going to have it the entire way, usually. There's rare exceptions. The lanes are so tight that it's really difficult to pass anyone. So here, I'll show you. So this was in the Olympics in 2010. And this is, as you can see, the one that's 500 meters short. So the ref just called them to the line. And when they go down, it means that they said ready. This bit is the most important in 500 meters. And this is the order that they stayed in the entire time. So the American lady won, and in this event she broke the Olympic record. Okay, let's go on to the relays. So in long track speed skating, the relays don't really exist. They have team pursuits, but it's basically 3 people on each team skating together, working as a team. So here it is. So there's Canada. They're really good. So they stand on other ends of the rink, and they basically work as a team. And it's called a pursuit because in the old days, you had to catch the other team to win. But now it's just set laps, and whoever gets to the finish line first wins.
Did the U.S. win?
In this case, Canada won. Okay. But in short track speed skating, the relays are a bit more complicated. So on each team, there are 4 skaters, but it doesn't matter which order you go in at all, and it doesn't matter how many laps you do as a team, like individually, as long as all 4 skaters skate, and the last skater has to skate the last 2 laps. So theoretically, you can have 4 people skate 1 lap each, and have 1 skater skate the entire thing, and just finish the race like that. But it's a really tiring sport. And especially in the races, especially in the relays, I mean, they go very fast. And it's a really tight sport, so there's a lot of hustling, especially in the relays. I don't know why that didn't start. I apologize for this delay. So as you can see, they push each other so that they get a head start. And if you're in the front, you have to go on the outside to get your push. And there are 4 skaters. One on the outside, one skating, one in the middle right there, getting the pass later on, and one resting. And in the relays, the rules are a bit more lax because there's a lot of hustling and bustling, especially in this region when they're passing each other. Okay, so now I want to focus on one skater in history. His name is Stephen Bradbury. I don't know if any of you know him. He won the gold medal in 2002. I chose him to focus him for the last few minutes because he's Australian and a lot of people follow short track speed skating. It doesn't make sense, but I'll show you later. It's important that he's Australian because he was the first person from the Southern Hemisphere to win the gold medal in the Winter Olympics. And it happened in 2002. But would he have gotten all that attention if he were from Canada or Northern European country? I think it was because he was a representative of his nation more than he was as an individual that he got much more attention. So the reason why he's quite famous is because in the 2002 Salt Lake City Olympics, he won his heat in the preliminaries, but here's the quarterfinal. You'll see it.
Which one is him?
He's right there. He's in the back now. So as you can see, he wasn't the best skater, but in the end, he did win due to one person being disqualified in the quarterfinals. His 2 people advanced to the next round in short track speed skating. And here's the semifinals. And as you can see again, he's not the fastest skater. That's how he passed the second round just like that. Here's the finals. As you can see, he's in the back again. He's obviously not the strongest skater. As you can imagine, a lot of people protested his win. Does he deserve the gold medal? They would ask. And I'll end my Pubspeak by saying that I do think that he deserves it. Because here's the motto of the Olympics. The most important thing in the Olympic Games is not to win, but to take part. Just as the most important thing in life is not the triumph, but the struggle. The essential thing is not to have conquered, but to have fought well. So, if you look at his history, he has been skating for Australia for 10 or so years, and he said in a post-race interview, and here I quote, "Obviously, I wasn't the fastest skater. I don't think I'll take the medal as the minute and a half of the race I actually won. I'll take it as the last decade of the hard slog I put in." And there's my quote.
So you said that for the first race, like the first race you showed us of Stephen Bradbury, like someone was disqualified. What was he disqualified for?
Oh no, he won the he won his heat.
No, but like you know how out of the 4, 1.
Oh, okay. So I guess I'll show you again. So as I said, the rules are simple. You can't touch anyone, or I mean, you can't push anyone. You usually have some touching. So the Canadian racer, he pushed the other guy out of the race. Yeah.
What's the highest velocity that you get to?
For the highest velocity in the Olympic level, they usually go 40 miles per hour-ish on average. But for more amateur, they go about 30 miles per hour. But for probably all of us here, it's probably going to be like 10, 15. Yeah.
Wait, so you said that you used to speed skate.
Yeah.
When did you quit? Why?
Okay, so I was on a team with 3 other skaters, and we all had. So as you can see, like a lot of people fall, and it's really tragic. And about speed skating, you have to start really young, and you have to have the right build for it. So there were 4 of us, and our captain, who usually skates in the front, right? He fell while he was going really fast, and he basically broke a lot of bones. One person didn't have the right back structure for it, because if you look at speed skating, you have to have a curved back. And you can practice that from the beginning when you're really young, but as you get older, as your back really stiffens up, it's really hard to get that curved back. Third person, I don't know where he went. He just got injured and then he left, so I don't know where he is. For me, my doctor told me to stop because my ankle-hip ratio was becoming too dangerous to keep continuing. Hip.
Hip.
Yeah. My butt was getting too big. Yeah.
You know, I have to manually like hit the skates.
Yeah.
Is there like a regulation in the Olympics of like how curved you can make your shoes?
No.
No. So that's something that they don't regulate. So basically, you can.
There's not a lot of rules in speed skating.
What if it's too curved, you lose the
Yeah. Basically. Yeah.
It's kind of a weird question, but I remember in the Olympics there was some big to do about some like he was wearing orange, so I'm gonna say Netherlands guy in like Bond track. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I'm not too familiar with long tracks.
I remember if there's just a big to do about it, and I just kind of remember that. But anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
Can you still do the splits?
No. No. When I was young, I couldn't do it myself. Because we had 3 other team members and there was my coach. We manually did it. So we would do each other. It was really painful. Yeah.
Is that unhealthy?
What?
Tearing muscles?
I don't know. We just did.
Not great.
We just did. Thanks, guys.
Mad drawing.